500 years ago, he washed ashore the sole survivor of a shipwreck. And upon the skull of the man who killed his dad, he said, I'm mad, I must eradicate piracy, injustice and cruelty, and all my sons will follow me, so evildoers will believe that this man cannot die.
G'day, this is Expand the Phantom Podcast. Our website is chroniclechamber.com, and you can subscribe to our podcast on YouTube or through your favourite podcast apps. Do not forget to give us a rating on your podcast app and tell a mate about us. This is episode 236, our November 2022 Comics and News podcast. Well, maybe it should just be called The West is the Best. The reason for that is because first time ever, and maybe we need a little bit more of it, is we have an exclusive all Western Australian crew. Yes. No, Dan and Steve have not flown over to Perth to join us. They are actually quite busy with the end of school term, and Steve's been counting all the votes with his state election, so hopefully he hasn't been fudging it with that one. To join us today, we have Callum Markin, who is one of our Patreons. With our Patreon, I'm sure a lot of people know about it, but we have different levels, and one of the levels is I think it's $20 mark or a $25 mark, and you get to join us for some semi-regular podcasts. And so, Callum, welcome, and thank you for coming off the bench and joining us.
Good evening. It's good to be here again.
Yeah,
definitely the best.
Yeah, West is the best. Proudly Western Australian. I think it just ends all arguments that WA is God's country, and it's also Phantom country. So no, in all seriousness, Callum, thank you for supporting us with via Patreon. You're one of the many that support us with Patreon. We appreciate it. Basically pays all our bills. And everything like that. One of the other things that Patreons has been being able to support us is with the Lee Falk Memorial Benguela Explorers Club dinner website. And there's actually a new website which will be launched in about a week or two, which the Patreons have also been made aware of and have gone through and had a bit of a look at it beforehand as well. But their support has also helped pay for the hosting and everything, and basically pay the bills. So, Callum, you're representing all the Patreons today, and so a huge shout out to yourself and to all the Patreons.
No pressure.
Yeah, no pressure. So, before we get into it, in 30 seconds, why do you support us via Patreon?
Because you guys are up to date on all the information. You seem to get the inside scoop before anybody else knows what's happening. So it's really good. And then the catch up on Supernova as well. It's always a laugh. And it's really good guys to have a chat with about our favourite purple hero.
That's it. So you're in I think the last time we communicated with you, I'm not sure if we actually had no, I think we were just beginning with videos, and I think you were in your car. You were doing a Stephen. But you're in your Phantom room tonight.
I am. I'm out near the sticks, not in the sticks, but pretty close to it. So the internet doesn't like working all the way out here. But I've managed to hook up some stuff, I'm in the Skull Cave at the moment. There's a few books behind me, and that's my cabinet there. So I won't show you the rest of it. It's all in disarray at the moment.
So what we see is the neat version. Is that what you're saying?
Yes.
Yeah,
that's it.
And look, if your Phantom room is in immaculate condition, you're obviously not buying enough stuff. Or you don't have kids and a wife.
Yeah.
Okay, well, I appreciate you joining us. Podcasts are always better when there's two or more people. So I'm sure people will enjoy listening to you and your opinion rather than just my own. So I appreciate that. So we'll get straight into it. So the first Frew issue is going to be this one, which is Frew number 1931, or the Collector's Replica series number 33. It's a very thick comic. with the paper and all that. It's got a rather mysterious female phantom painting by Glenn Ford. For those interested, all these replica series covers which have been done by Glenn Ford, he actually does sell them on his website, which is fanfare.com.au. So if you're into original art, or you've always thought about maybe you want to buy one, keep an eye on his website. He's got some other free covers there as well, and it's worth picking out. So what did you think about this issue? What did you think about the cover, Callum?
The cover, it's definitely something different. It's looking really good, actually. It's my favourite era. Lee Falk and Ray Moore. McCoy. The art is very simple, but it's very entertaining. These bad guys are just ugly as sin. You know they're the bad guys. And it's just a nice, fun story all the way through. I like reading them. There's nothing too heavy about it.
So there's been 4. There's been the boxing one of his back, which looks like a Rambo. There's the golden circle. There's where he's got ropes in his hands. And then there is this one as well. So look, the stories, so the stories are great. You're right. It's the Wilson McCoy classic pulpy feel. So the stories that we've got in this one is the Phantom's Ring, U-Town, the Female Phantom, the Seahorse Part 2, and the Helicopter Pirates. If you're on YouTube, we'll be scrolling through some of these stories, so you'll be able to see the stories as we're talking about. Now, are you a fan of these collector replicas, Callum?
Depending on the story. Not all of them tickle my fancy, but I do like McCoy. I'm guessing that's stemming from the Golden Age special back in the day. That's probably my favourite book ever.
Oh, what is it? 1033, I believe it is. And it had the gold gilding on the Frew issue.
63, 1063, I think it is.
Yeah,
that's the one with the gilding on it. That's probably my favourite book ever. And the stories in here, especially the Ring, that's been told a few times in different versions and different bad guys and that sort of thing. But it's just a nice look back into what it was. I mean, I like the book itself. With the old covers they used to have.
Yep.
Just adding that in, I reckon that adds a little bit to the book as well. But generally, they're bagged and put away.
Yeah, they're fun stories. So do you like it better now that each one is on a thicker paper, which the printing looks a little bit better? It's got a different cover rather than 10 covers for each. Do you like that better as well?
Yeah, I reckon Glenn's doing a good job with the covers with each individual one, and the paper on it is just exceptional compared to the butcher's paper we used to get for them. These are great.
Yeah. So what's actually interesting is the paper that we used to get before the paper shortage was actually improved originally when Steve Shepherd took over from his father. So it used to actually be on crappier paper than what it used to be. So look, there hasn't always been lots of good things with COVID, but one good thing about COVID is that there's been a paper shortage, and it has forced Frew to use a higher quality paper. Would you want them to go back, or you want them to stay with this paper?
No, this would be the standard now, I reckon.
Yep. And definitely. So, as someone who has lots of expenses and stuff like that, do you mind the extra money that is involved with buying a thicker paper comic?
Not really. I've done the subscription through Frew.
Yep.
So that kind of absorbs the cost a little bit there. So yeah, I haven't got the latest issue, 1932 yet, but because I work away, every time I come home, there's one or two of them waiting for me. So it's yeah. But I find the subscriptions a little bit better than. I mean, before that, I had the local comic book, Quality Comics, you know the one. I had them putting aside for me, but I wasn't getting the cards, So subscription plus the cards just works out. It's good.
Yeah, definitely. So you make mention of Frew 1932, so it's a perfect segue there, Callum. You are a pro at this podcast business. You know how it works already. So this is it here, 1932. It's got a beautiful cover by Ivan Rodriguez, who is from Brazil. He's created a few stories now. Do you like his work?
Very impressive. Very impressive. Yeah. It's
So,
it kind of reminds me of and I'm going to butcher his name, but that's part of the thing. Jean Bourget, John Boyce.
oh, yep. Yeah.
Similar sort of theme I'm picking up there. It's a feel to it. Not as dark as
No, I personally, I get the feeling of more of a, especially when it comes to his Phantom, and we'll go through his story later. But he uses like a lot of black splatter and everything like that. So, like for instance, if you've got the comic in front of you, page 22, 23, there's like a lot of ink splatter, which kind of reminds me more of a Caesar Spadera used a lot of blacks, and then even some of like the way he draws some of the Phantom and Mr. Walker, especially, reminds me a little bit of a Hans Lindell. But I do get what you're saying with the John Boy, yeah. But anyway, yeah. So this story, brilliant cover. So we've got Andreas is the writer, who's also the Andreas that we've had on this podcast a few times, who is the Fantomen editor. And then Ivan Rodriguez is the creator, who is from Brazil. So, but there's also a story called the what do you call it? So it's a prequel. Well, it's an original and a sequel story. And what do you think about that concept that Frew have been doing a fair bit?
I reckon it's a step in the right direction. They've got all these stories, and you never see them again. So it's great that they're going back and pulling on the threads and getting a bit more of the story out.
Yeah. No, I think that's a very good point. What I like about it is that there's so many. So if you're on YouTube, we're gonna flick through the Sunday story, which is the original Missing Link. What I also like about it is there's great artwork in it as well, especially, but it gives Frew the opportunity to reprint it. Like Frew have reprinted this story, which is the Missing Link. So it gives them an excuse to print it, but then it's got an updated version of the story in a modern artwork, modern style. So hopefully all the new readers who might not want to read old stories, especially like a Wilson McCoy or a Ray Moore, this kind of gives them a reason to enjoy it, hopefully get hooked, and then become a fan of those stories, and then they want to read more of those type of stories. So, one thing I do find interesting about this story is there's a bit of a weekend miss, I think is what they call it, which is like from one week to another, there's a glaring obvious mistake. Like you'll see down here, so this is on, if you've got the comic, I'll just get the page number. On page 5, you see Elaine, who's the first time we see Elaine, which is the lady. She's got short hair, short, scruffy kind of hair. And then if you go, where are we? So like, for instance, further on the story, which is on, again, if you've got the comic, if you're on the screen, you can see it there. If you are on the comic, you're looking at page 12, so 7 pages on. She's got the long, blonde locks. So did you notice that when you were reading it?
I've just seen it now.
So they call that a bit of a weekend miss. Another interesting point about this story is, so the Phantom's definitely in Africa by this time of the Phantom lore, but the Nomads definitely have that Asian Mongolian feel about them. So again, if so there's a screen there. If you're on YouTube, you'll be able to see that. If you're following on audio and you've got your comic in front of you, if you go from about pages 9 to about pages 11, you can have a look at them, and they've definitely got that Asian, Himalayan, Mongolian feel to it. So even after Sibari had put the Phantom in Africa, there's still some of those times where people get mixed up and stuff like that. So did you? I know you said you haven't got the comic, but you've dug through some of the older issues and all that. Did you get a chance to reread this story?
Yes.
Or do you? Yeah.
It's taken as a review. It's kind of 3 pages to get to the Phantom to know what the story's about. You don't get that nowadays.
Yeah. Because
a bit long-winded.
At the beginning, you've got the Phantom going on holidays and stuff like that. Because now we've got the 22 pages, so the writer had to get to it. It's a very good point.
That's it. Yeah. So you don't get it nowadays, but it's nice to reminisce. The Little People. That's one of my favourites.
You're a Little People fan.
I am. I reckon it's a bit silly, but I do like them. It adds to the story, I reckon. Don't use them all the time, but they have their purpose.
Well, I think what's good is how they used it in this instance, where it's on the way to the story. One thing you might also notice is that they're using pigeons or doves as what they ride on, where in other stories they're using falcons. Obviously, where Vråkarna comes from is one of their trained falcons.
Doesn't the prince? His ride is the falcon, not?
Yeah,
else is the pigeon.
No, I think from memory, it's they all were falcons, but in this one they're definitely on pigeons or doves. So, and then I think on the boss fights figurine they're using those as well.
The pigeons,
yeah. So it's interesting where there's that little bit of bit of mix up.
Maybe the falcon's in the shop.
Yeah. So then you got the story where basically the Phantom's rescuing people. It kind of reminds me of the Veiled Lady, where you've got the doctor, his beautiful daughter, but they're in the volcano instead of on the mountain. So
another classic lead trope.
Yeah. So but however, this one's a little bit different, where they're trying to find the missing link, which is something cross between ape and man, and they find it, and then you see another thing which the Phantom doesn't tend to do very often, and that is has a good laugh, which you can see in here. To be honest, I loved this little bit. I thought it was a really good story. I really liked it, and how it's got the zipper, and and then straight away, it's like any true romantic movie or Christmas movie that you can watch on Netflix these days. Is that in the space of about one day they fall madly in love and they live happily ever after. So it's it doesn't happen like that in real life though, does it?
No, it doesn't.
But the artwork's beautiful. I think Sibari, he was in his sweet spot when he was drawing here. When he's doing Sundays, the stories are a little bit more open. Like there's less backgrounds, less detail because there's the color involved. It's just works really well. I really enjoyed that story. Did you enjoy the story as well?
Yes. Oh, sorry. I was just flicking through the last couple of pages there on what I've got there. Yeah, no, it's a good little story. There's not much to say, really.
It's and I guess that's the beauty where these sequel stories come in, is that, you know, you've got two characters which we never ever see again in Claude and Elaine, and it's like they could be visited again, and it just means, you know, because they've already been established, you don't have to reintroduce them. So it's like you can have them in a story and you don't have to actually introduce them or give them a backstory because it's already been done in the Lee Falk story. So, you know, it means you don't have to waste story on that either. So, yeah, I think the other thing that it does well, and Team Fantomen did this back when they first created their own stories, is it allows Frew to slide in alongside Lee Falk's universal law and add to it, which would then be more widely accepted by the old Falkus, like Dan, but then the younger, more hip people like us, Callum, you know, we get a chance to read the classic story, but we also, you know, get new stories as well. So I think it's a great way for Frew to keep everyone happy.
So you're not actually changing anything. You're adding to the story that's already there.
Exactly. So again, if you're on YouTube, we are going to flick through the new sequel story, which is called The Links in the Chain. If you're on audio, you'll be able to follow on. If there's anything that we'll talk about, we'll try and mention page numbers, so then that way you can follow on as we are talking. So one of the things I really like about Ivan, and this we're talking about page 21 here, which is the first page of The Links in the Chain, is he loves his full one-page panels. Like,
how good is that?
Yeah, like that would be a good page to own if you were to buy original artwork from it. If he actually does do original artwork, or whether he does them digitally, I don't know, but that would be a good page. Even though it's Mr. Walker and it only takes up a quarter of that whole page, it's just epic, and it gets straight into the story, which
there's no fluffing about. Straight into it.
Yeah. So then you've got here where, you know, straight away you're in Europe somewhere, you're on the Mediterranean coast, and he's now boarding a ship. It's, you know, nothing else. You don't know how he's gotten there. You don't know, which is a stark contrast to the other story where the Phantom even got half a day of leisure in beforehand and got to ride on the dolphins, and go, lay by the beach and stuff like that. In this story, he's straight into action. You don't see him stop off or anything like that. It's kind of funny having the two contrasts.
The older story sort of sets up the rest of the story, whereas this just launches straight into it. You don't know what's happening yet exactly. So retains that little bit of mystery.
One of the things I also like about it is, and I'm not sure if this is done correctly. Like, this was a little bit confusing for me. Is you've got, so we're talking about page 22 and 23. If you're on audio, the Phantom's barged into it. He punches, I think it's, which we're talking about, what, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, the fifth one. It looks like he's kind of punching the captain, but I think what he's doing is he's punched the wall behind him. Then he gets shown the skull. And then, but 3 or 4 panels later, it's looking like he's waking up after being hit. He's got blood coming or stuff coming from his mouth. It could be, it could be tears and snot. It could be having a bit of a cry after being found out by the Phantom. But I don't know if that's been. Was that kind of confusing for you, or was it just me?
A little bit. I did see that panel where he's leant over and he's got the dribble and whatever he's doing there. I mean, that's a bit strange. So I had to look back and, he's got a beer in his hand. He might have had a mouthful at the time or something. And he's snooping on him. But it does. It looks like on his face he's had a bit of a knock. But again, without colour, you can't really tell. But I'd say it is a bit of beer, maybe a bit of snot and dribble.
It could also be sweat. Like at the bottom of page 22, you can definitely tell that he's sweating. So maybe he's sweating with fear and stuff. But yeah, I didn't. I'm not sure whether he was actually hit or. Like if he hit the wall behind him and left an imprint, which the Phantom has done in numerous circumstances, you would think that he would see the imprint on the wall. If he was hit in the face, you would think that panel where it looks like he's kind of waking up would happen first. So, look, I think the flow, and there's one other scene which I was kind of a little bit confused by, but this is probably my only negative about the whole story, was this and the other panel that I'm going to discuss later. But I'm really being picky here. But apart from that, I can't really fault the story.
No, it's a little bit dark in places, and it does touch on real world problems.
Yeah,
which you're seeing more and more with these modern sort of stories coming through now.
Yeah, on page 24. Where you've gone from page 23, which is the Phantom interrogating the captain on the Mediterranean coast somewhere in Europe, and then you're on page 24. I almost feel like they need another little signpost box saying, somewhere else in Europe, or, just something like that, because like when I was reading it, I'm just like, okay, we've now gone from here to here. We've now gone from there to here. Where's here? So
exactly,
I think maybe just a little box like you've got on page 2021 at the top where it says a Mediterranean harbour in Europe. I just think maybe something like there could have been good as well. But I like how I like Claude. Elaine's got short hair in this one as well, which is interesting, which is what she was originally, and then later on she had the long hair. So on page... Sorry?
I thought it was a bun. No, it's definitely short hair, isn't it?
Yeah. So, maybe she just cuts it off for, world's greatest shave, and then she grows it back. And on page 27, you've got the little elsewhere button as well. And that's all it would have needed on that page, 25 or 24. I like this panel here. Never pointed a gun at the Phantom. I've said it before in the podcast, but I think every Phantom story needs at least one old jungle saying. What about you? Do you like your jungle sayings?
I do. And I like it when they're used correctly and they pop up unexpectedly.
Yeah.
So it's good that they've slipped that one in there, but yeah, definitely needs more.
Yeah, you could have put one in here on page 22 where the Phantom's interrogating the captain. Maybe I just like, maybe one's enough, but if you were to put a second one in, you could put, when the Phantom answers, or when the Phantom asks you answers, or, the Phantom can turn, tiger's blood cold, or, whatever that jungle saying is as well. So, it's good. What I really like about it, and we'll get to it now, where it was kind of like not the Phantom. Yeah, the Phantom saves the day, but it wasn't the Phantom who kind of realised what the problem was. Like Elaine did it as well. So it shows good character development. She's not just a damsel in distress. So I thought that was kind of good by Andreas as well.
Yeah, not so one-dimensional.
Yeah. So what about this bit here in scenes 34 and 35, or on page 34, 35, where you see a gorilla attacking these guys? What did you think about that?
For a second there, I thought it was an actual gorilla, and then it reveals itself.
Yeah,
it's definitely just the way he's having a go at the guys, and he's not holding back.
No. I thought it was great. Now, look, it's something you don't see often, where but it's not the first time the Phantom's actually been involved in a circus. There was, what was it? It was a story. I think it was called the Circus Murderers. I think it was published in Frew. Oh, can't remember top of my head, but we'll come back to it. But where the Phantom actually performs as a what's it called? An acrobat on the swings and all that. So
Is that white as snow, red as blood? Is that a
yeah, and he does that as well. Yeah. So yeah, do you remember that story? So that was another one where he becomes a clown in that one. I think it is.
yes? Yep, that's what I'm thinking of.
Yeah. So there's twice where the Phantom what do you call it? Where the Phantom he's involved in a circus. So yeah. So the Circus Murderer was published it's been published twice actually. 891A, which is in 1987 by Frew, and then recently in 2014, which is 1684. Look, it's a great story. Dig it out. You won't be disappointed with that one. And the other one was, what is it? White as snow.
I think it's white as snow, red as blood.
Yeah, white as snow, red as blood. That's a 1993 story. Again, this has been published twice by Frew, so the Phantom and circuses are popular. So we're looking at 1043 in 1993 and Frew 1607, which is 2011. And it's also been published in Sweden as well, which was in Fantomen 22, 1992. And then, of course, the Circus Murderer, for those who are listening to us from Sweden, that was also published in the Phantom Christmas album in 2006. And then also in Fantomen 2022 number from 1981. And that story, The Circus Murderer, has actually been published in 13 different countries. So it's a very popular story indeed. So look, I really enjoyed the Phantom that he dressed up. I also like how in this story, Ivan has an angry looking Phantom, but he's also got it with the great contrast with the Phantom smiling. So here at the top of page 37, after he's beaten up all the bad guys and he's unzipping the Phantom costume, he's having a good old chuckle at himself, and then Elaine and Claude are kind of like, they're just kind of like, oh yeah, this is just common occurrence, this happens all the time, and so it was really good. There was another scene where the Phantom's having a good old smile, and that's on page 41 as well. So I really like those scenes by Ivan. Now, I thought another thing that Andreas did really well was the real life problems. You made mention of it before, Callum. So what did you think about the real life problems, and did you like that element?
The animal trade and smuggling, that sort of thing, is always in Phantom's wheelhouse. He's always dealing with that kind of thing. But it's if you don't touch on it, you don't know about it. So it's good that they're bringing it to our attention at least.
Yeah, exactly. Personally, did you know about the smuggling of trucks?
No.
Yeah.
But I'm guessing someone at some stage has thought it's a great idea to repurpose. I suppose it's like Fast and Furious, stealing cars and selling one to other people.
Yeah, until the rich oil nations, when they're not bribing their way to get a World Cup in the soccer. Look, I thought it was great. I personally hadn't heard of the trucks as well, but it makes sense. Like, I know, because I've actually got friends who have been to North Korea, and in North Korea, they're still driving around in old Cold War trucks that they've gotten
Yep.
from Russia and stuff like that. So all these other countries, you know, like that have got conflict diamonds and dictators and all that, they can't get trade with, you know, Mr. Toyota and Mr. Kia. They actually have to get the trucks another way. So it makes sense. And, you know, good on Andreas for, you know, whether he listened to it on a story or a newspaper article or a Netflix documentary or something, but then he managed to weave it into a Phantom story. So I think he's done a great job.
Yeah, it's definitely something to think about, other than gorillas and bad guys.
Yeah. Now, this is the other panel I was a little bit unsure on. Now, because it's kind of like, you know, the Phantom says goodbye, and then on the next one, it's a big page, awesome page. You know, would look good as whether it's a poster or, you know, as original artwork framed or, you know, stuff like that. But he's smashing links. Now, I personally don't think it's actually he is literally saying goodbye to him and smashing links. I think it's a bit of a teaser that this isn't the end of this saga that maybe Andreas has created, that another story we're going to see by him is to do with these people and maybe further on down the path. That's how I see and interpret this page. What about you?
Yeah, it definitely leaves itself open for another part of the story.
So, of course, if you're following on audio, we're talking about page 42. If you're on YouTube, you'll be able to see that as well. So, yeah, look, story-wise, it's great. Nice thick pages. So, you know, you can't complain there. The print quality is good. The Cy Barry story on page 7, mine's a little bit fuzzy and a little bit bland. But apart from that, most of the other pages of the classic story is a good quality. And then you've got a nice modern feel story, you know, which is dealing with, you know, real life problems and stuff like that. So, yeah, look. Now, it was mentioned on social media that this was a higher priced comic. As you can see there, you've got the little corner box if you're looking on YouTube. Now, what some people I think might have forgotten or not taken into account is this is actually a 44-page comic rather than a 36-page comic. So that's where the extra $1 comes from, is that you're paying for an extra 8 pages. So I think that might be where it's kind of come from. So look, you can't really go past that as a story, can you? As a comic, it's a great little comic.
It's a good read. It is. You know, you have your original from Lee Falk and Cy Barry, and then you've got your follow on. You know, picking up the threads that they've already established.
Yep.
And leaving themselves open for possibly another one.
Yeah, exactly. What's actually interesting, before we do move on from this, and I don't want to take up too much time, is the next comic on sale of the 8th of December. This is on the inside of the comic. You can probably see it if you're on YouTube. It's called The Missing Link by Therese, which is Class Ranufi, Felmang, and Benny. So I find it funny that the next story is also called The Missing Link when the previous 2 stories are also basically the link and all that as well. So I've talked to some friends in Sweden and they've confirmed that the story isn't related to the news story, but I'm not sure if it's related to the original Lee Falk Cy Barry story. So I'm intrigued to learn about that story, or whether Dudley's just playing games with us and just purely coincidence. What do you reckon?
I haven't heard of that one before, so it'll be interesting to see that maybe someone's had a bit of a mix-up there and they've renamed it.
Yeah.
The same as something else. So
I've checked on Phantom Wiki, which everyone is aware of and probably uses. That story does is called that and was from 1992 or 1993 from memory. And in my opinion, that's when Philmang was at his peak.
Yep.
You know, I loved his work from the early to mid 90s. So I think, you know, it would be nice to see if they go with a Philmang cover. So yeah, I'm looking forward to that issue.
We haven't had a filming cover for a while, have we?
No, we haven't. So I'm looking forward to it. Now, next up, we're going to be talking about this one, which is the next Giant Size number 23, which is a John Dixon special. Now, for those who don't know, John Dixon is, I'm going to go out on a limb, and I'm probably going to get people that disagree with me, but he might be the most well-known Australian comic artist, you know, from like yesterday's era. So that's where I'm going to go with that. Is he's done a lot of the stories from like the 60s, 70s, 50s, and stuff like that. I think in the first John Dixon special, they actually had a bit of a bio on him, so it's worth digging that out. I think that was Giant Size 15 from memory. From a Phantom perspective, people might be wondering, well, did he do any Phantom? This here was used for a trading card, and I believe this actually hangs up in Glenn Ford's Frew office, the original to this, which is on the back cover. And I've also been told that Glenn Lumsden was rather, what's the word, liberal with the hair that John sported back then as well. So, yeah. So what did you think about this comic, mate?
I love the Giant Size. It's you know, a step back in the past again. Some of the Phantom stories in the past have been a bit lacking, but yeah, the Crybaby, I think that was actually in Golden Special again.
Yes, you're right. Yes.
So it's, you know, it's nice to see another interpretation of it.
Mm.
But his artwork is definitely Bill Lignante.
Yep.
Kind of esque.
Well, this is Bill. So this was
yeah.
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 So in the Gold Key stories,
okay, yeah, there we go.
They re-imaged some of the original script by Bill Harris, and then Bill Lignante redrew a whole heap of stories. So I've got a version here. So again, if you're on YouTube, you'll be able to see this. It's not an exact replication. This actually came from the Gold Key version. So what I actually like about this Frew cover the Frew comic is that the reproduction is better than what was originally in the Gold Key comic. Like the colours are brighter and stuff. So I really like it. So
the Gold Key is getting on a bit in years, and you know, yellowing pages and that sort of thing. But it's definitely similar colours, just a bit brighter, I reckon, and they're definitely done well.
Yeah, I have it. It's nice to see a bit of colour as well. You know, it isn't. Look, I never read half of these characters before I got the current Giant Size. So for me, I've got a greater appreciation for Australian comic book history because of this issue.
Yes.
So I think that's what's great about it as well. And you're right, it's a great story about a boy who's, you know, doesn't have a father figure, who's been bullied, and as a father of my oldest daughter who's had to deal with her first bully this year, you know, it's rather hard to deal with and to go through all of that. So it's nice to be able to see the bully getting, you know, That's one aspect. My daughter's gone for the, I'll just become their friend until they give up bullying me, and then they'll become my friend. And that actually worked, to be honest. So she went to a birthday party yesterday, but as a boy, beating him up was always a better option. But maybe my daughter's will teach the Phantom and me a better version,
A different approach.
a better approach. One of the things I also like about this, what Bill's doing, is he's probably got a better portrayal of Bengala back in those days when it was, it would have been rough. Would have been, it looks like they're on the outskirts of the lower class, and I think Bill's done a great way of portraying that.
Yeah, it's like the slums.
Yeah,
they're coming from.
Yeah. So, yeah, no. Did you get to read any of the other stories?
Not exactly a fan of the other ones, but having a flick through, it reminds me very much of the Commando comics.
Yes, that's the Phantom Commando one.
Phantom Commando, definitely. Yep, that reads exactly like a little Commando book.
Yeah. So, did you read and enjoy those as a younger boy / man as well?
It did. I like them. You can go down the market and pick up a few for a few dollars.
Yeah, they're like $5 each at the newsagent now. I brought a couple and I thought, maybe I can start collecting these. And then I looked at them and I thought, $5 for each one. It kind of made me think twice. It is worth making mention of a couple of things in some of the stories. I'm looking at page 56 and 57 of the Giant Size. You can see some rather of the time depictions of people from Asia, Southeast Asia, from Japan, Korea type of way. Yes, it is racist, but it is very stereotyped. It is a product of its time. So yeah, that's a really bad picture of it there with the buck teeth and and stuff like that. The other thing that is worth making mention is there was someone on Facebook who I won't mention by name who tried to make a bit of noise saying that Frew published these stories without permission. I followed this one up with Glenn Ford himself, confirmed that he does have permission to reproduce these stories from the Dixon family. So, there's nothing dodgy going on. It's all kosher. It's all above board. The Dixon family love the fact that Frew are giving their family member some great attention to younger readers or young or younger readers. So, just thought I'll make mention of that as well. There's nothing dodgy going on. That person is mistaken. He's been corrected, and he has, in a sense, retracted his statement as well. So, unfortunately, we all know that social media can also bring out the worst in people and give people a platform when they shouldn't deserve one, and that's a bit what happened in this case. Anything else sorry, what were you going to say?
Well, just with that, if you flick to, there are the staples, to the middle of the book, page 51, you'll see down the bottom there it says, published by courtesy of the John Dixon estate.
Yeah.
So It's in black and white at the bottom of the paper. So.
Yeah. And I believe the Dixon family has actually received royalties for the publication as well. So, you can't, it's been used with permission, and Frew have paid for it as well. So, so Frew are looking out for the Dixon family as well, and for whoever were possible as well. Now, anything else you want to make mention of Giant Size 24?
I haven't heard of half these guys. Captain Strato, Crimson Comet, and then just on the inside of the cover, on the front there it says, "Can you please help us find these?" And it's Planet Man we've heard of.
Yep.
Invisible Avenger, Jetman.
Yeah.
I think there was one or two. A green skeleton.
So again, if you're on YouTube, you'll be able to see this. Basically, Glenn and the team of Frew are wanting to publish all these old comics. So look, if you've ever collected these, and even if it's not on here, maybe contact Frew and just say, hey, look, I've got this issue of character X, issues 1, 2, 6, 7, 8. And Frew, if Frew can use it, they will use it. And again, I know someone who they've actually gone and either brought the comic off them or actually paid for them to go scan the comic and get it scanned professionally and stuff like that. So, Frew are wanting to preserve this type, Australian comic history, and they're willing to pay for it. So you can't complain with that. If you're smart, you might buy the comic for, I don't know, $50, and then Frew might give you some money, and the comic might only cost you $10.
But definitely breathes new life into older comics that a lot of us haven't seen before. If you weren't around at the time and weren't collecting.
Yes. Now, so that's all our Frew issues. We've only got 3. Now, what we try and do is we do try and do these comics and reviews podcasts once a month. So that way you're not having to listen through 5 comics at a time. So that's why there's only been 3, 2 regular and 1 of the giant size. Now, this is where we go to the international stuff. Now, we have 3 legendary gentlemen. We have from McCoy from Sweden, Seahorse from India, and Christian from Germany. Now, we've also got a review on our website for the Norwegian Christmas album, which is the one that I'm holding in my hand. Landscape. Now, it's a written review only, so we can't actually include a video or audio review of this. So if you're interested in this, you can buy a copy from Ivan Pedersen's website, and I believe there's 1 or 2 Australians who have several copies of this. That's where I actually got my one as well. I'll just give you a quick flick through it. So if you're on video, you'll be able to see it. If you're on audio, just let my voice feed your imagination. So you've got the story, which is the spy ship. What they've done with this is, seeing it's in landscape, it's allowed them to produce each Sunday is a page, which I think is really, really good. And it's in colour. Then you've got, and yes, those, everyone loves pointing this one out, but, there is a fairly well-known Phantom fan in this story. So, there's that to make mention of. You've got the drummer of Timpani. What's interesting is the gutter, which this big white space here. Now, I think the reason for that is because each line is 1 day. So if they were to put another panel there, it wouldn't be reading. If I was to improve it, I would maybe center that. So basically, if you're on audio, I'll try and explain it. For the drummer of Timpani, you've got the 4 panels as one. They've got basically the 4 is each day. But then you have, on the spine side, you have maybe a centimetre, and then to the centre of the spine, and then on the end, you have maybe 5 centimetres, and it just looks a little bit off-centre. But look, it's in colour, and it's a good read. I really enjoyed it. It's 67, 68 pages. It's good to see. It's a square spine. It's good to see that Fantomen are producing. Look, it'll be great to see Fantomen producing new stories all the time, or new comics, rather than just their chronicle stories. But look, if you can only get one, this makes sense to do like a Christmas annual, because people buy books for Christmas, so it makes it a good one. So yeah, what we'll do is we'll hand over to McCoy. Then we'll hand over to Siage, who's going to be recording the reviewing, catching up on all the Regals and Shatkies. And then we've got Christian as well for issue 3 of the Zubistan, and maybe issue 4, which is just coming out as well. So we'll hand it over to you, Mikael.
Another Fantomen review with me, Mikael. This time it's issue 24 of 2022, the next to last issue of the year, with this striking cover by Luca Arbata. And it has this editorial page that writes about the Swedish and Norwegian Christmas albums and about the Boss Fight Studio action figures. The main story is the concluding part of Pidde's Vulture original trilogy with art by Anthony Spay. It's The Evil Baron, and it was first published in Frew 1888, but now it is in color and in Swedish, and it looks awesome in color. And this part is less backstory than the earlier issues and more like a regular Fantomen story that ties up the bag on this great arc. After that we have this daily story by Tony DePaul, George Olsen and Keith Williams, Jungle Mystery, and it's a story about two pilots having to do an emergency landing in the jungle close to the border of Rhodia. And there are multiple parties trying to reach them first, and they have different agendas, and yeah, it's a story. Then we have the preview of the next issue, 25-26, the last issue of the year. It will have a new Team Fantomen story, The Ghost Canoe, by David Bishop and Kari Leppinen. It will have two Team Fantomen reruns. It's Diana's Married with Janne Lundström and Oskar Neralp, and Lord of the Jungle, the Tarzan story with Kjell T. Jonsson and Claes Remerti for the story and Heinar Bade with the art. And we also see another adventure with Carl Schempe that I really enjoy earlier. So that's all for this time. See you next time, and happy Fantoming.
Hello everyone, and welcome to another one of Chronicle Chamber's comic book reviews from India. Today we are going to be reviewing the Regal Phantom Comics number 22, 23, 24 and 25. Before I start the review, I must say that Regal's product has been great so far, and we are absolutely loving it here in India. They have been quite successful lately, and after releasing their trade paperback containing the Chatu Saga, which has already been reviewed on the channel before, and now they after they published that Chatu Saga, which was their first issue in the 2022, they came back to publishing regular issues back in July. So they published in July these three issues, which were regular issues, and then to celebrate their anniversary of publishing the Phantom Comics for almost 2 years now, more than 2 years of course, and they released this one. This is a very special edition, a very annual like feel to it, a Frew annual like, if you would say. It is a very big special edition. It contains 4 stories, so yeah. It is number 25, so it falls under the whole series title, and it's really cool. And so even though these were not recently released issues which have been announced today or yesterday I think, and we were not able to review those videos before, so now we are able to do them. So here we are with the reviews. Anyway, so let's get started with the review. And now, talking about the issues released in July, we first we'll talk about issue number 22. As you can see here, this one, it features a cover by a new artist called Shaji Matthew, I think, as you can see here. Okay. So this issue was cover is pretty nice. It features 2 stories as always, as any regular issue of Regal does, which are the Patrol Woman and the Hunt for the Unknown Commander. and opening it up we can see that they have used the glossy pages again, and then the stories are very much well printed. Yeah, the Petroleum, the story is written by Tony D. Paul and the art is by Paul Ryan, and that's yeah, it's been very nicely printed in this format by Regal. I really like this. Now moving on to the second story, which is The Hunt for the Unknown Commander, which I think started in newspaper right after this one. So it is also written by Tony D. Paul and artist is of course Paul Ryan. So yeah, I really like how they printed it. Just look at these panels, the colors really stand out in this printing. I think, yeah, it's really good, very good job by Regal. I really like it a lot. On the back we have the advertisement for the trade paperback, and that's it. Now moving on to issue number 23, we have this really fantastic cover by Ankit Mitra. I like it because the color combination, etc. And to note, it is now that Ankit Mitra has done the most number of covers for Regal at the moment. So yeah, it's nice to see his work getting better cover by cover, and yeah, it's very nice. And as always, this features two stories, which are John X and Patrolman X. So this is also a daily story from 2014, yes, and it's written by Tony D. Paul and artist is Paul Ryan. And yeah, this story I quite like it a lot. I remember reading it in the newspapers back then, and yeah, it was very nice, I think. Yeah, and this one is also very printed very well by Regal. As you can see, this is a really good job by them. Yeah, so then we go to the second story, which is the Patrolman X, and it's also written by Tony G. Paul and artist Paul Ryan. Yeah, again, great job by Regal, great stuff, like the story, and printed very well by them. Yeah, that's for issue number 23. Now coming to number 24, we have this cover by Ankit Mitra again. This one is a very nice cover. I like the color combination, and then this light from the lamp getting reflected in Phantom's body. I think it's really nice. Like, it's a very horror-ish cover. Yeah, it's very good job done by. Again, this features two stories: The Lost Catacombs and The Phantom is Everywhere. This is the only issue in this set, I believe, that features two Sunday stories. So moving on to the first story, The Lost Catacombs. That story is written by Tony D. Paul again, and the artist Paul Ryan. Yeah, so again, this was from when this was printed, I exactly don't remember. It was 2007. So yeah, it's nice. Yeah, just a very good job by Regal, I think. Yeah. You can see the colors and stuff. Then we go to the second story, which is The Phantom is Everywhere. This was back in 2017, I think. Yes, 2017. And this story was Terry Beatty's last story as a Phantom artist, and then Jeff Weigel took over in the middle. So yeah, it's written by Tony DePaul again, and the art is by Paul Ryan. The Terry Beatty and Jeff Weigel. Alright, this is the last panel done by Terry Beatty, and then Jeff Weigel started from here. From this one. This is the last. This one was the last panel done by the page done by Terry Beatty. And then we have the Jeff Weigels. From the beginning, I think Jeff Weigel told in an interview that he started it in a very cartoonish way, then he did differently in the later ones. Yes, he evolved, I think, and his new Sunday strips are quite different compared to this. So yeah, it's nice, very nicely printed by Regal, and that's for these 3 issues, number 23, 24 and 20, number 22, 23 and 24. Now moving on to this one, which is the anniversary special 2022, or number 25 of the series. This one is celebrating Regal publishing The Phantom for 2 years in English from 2020. So yeah, it's very, very nice. Like it has like a laminated cover, and then this is paperback, perfect binding, I think we call in India. Yeah, it's nice. And then we see here. So this issue celebrates, as I told before, the Regal publishing The Phantom for 2 years. It celebrates the anniversary. So this issue's cover is done by Ankit Mitra again. It's really nice cover, as you can see here. It's very, very painting-ish cover, and he has mentioned that he was inspired by, as you can see, after Cyberry and Pratap Malik. So Pratap Malik, I think, was an famous Indian artist who worked in Indian comics and art, I believe. So yeah, this looks really nice, and I think Cyberry saw this cover and approved it. Yeah, that's cool. Yeah, this one, what I like about Ankit Mitra's cover are that they are quite different from one another. So that's a thing to note about his work. So this issue features 4 stories, as you can see. All of them are Sunday stories, and those are The Wise Guy, the Rat Must Die, Vigil at Phantom Head, and The Visitor. So all of them are written by Tony DePaul, and The Wise Guy drawn and colored by Terry Beatty, and the other ones are drawn by Jeff Weigel and colored by him as well. So here are some notes from the publisher about them publishing The Phantom for 2 years, and about the anniversary, and again from Ankit Mitra here as well, about them crossing the milestone it's nice. So this is the story, The Wise Guy. They printed it very well, like again glossy pages, really nice, I think. Yeah, very well done job by them. Yeah. Now let's go to the second story, which is The Rat Must Die. It starts from this page. I think this one is the longest Sunday story written by Tony D. Paul. This is again, this is the Jeff Weigel artwork. Yeah, the story is quite different. Yeah, the printing job is done very well by them, as you can see here. Now let's move on to the next story, which is Vigil at Phantom Head, which starts from here. This is again a Sunday story from 2020. Printed very well by Regal again. Nice. Then we move on to the last story of this comics, which is The Visitor. This one was I think the most recent Sunday story. It was from last year, and this one was from 2021. Yes, I think this is the first time ever that this story has been printed in a comic format, because no other publisher like Frew or Fantomen haven't published this in a comic format. So Regal became the first one to publish it, which is very nice, and that's cool. Yeah, it's been very nicely printed by Regal. Nice. Well, that was number 25, a very nice publication, and I hope they do more like this, because it's really nice. Now finally we need to talk about freebies. So as we all know, Regal has been always been giving away freebies with their comic books, and that's a very nice thing, I think. And we have now here freebies that were released with these books. So with number 22 we have this card, which is based on the cover, as you can see. Very nice. So one thing to note about these cards is that they have slightly changed the size of the cards. This is from issue number 21, released back in December, and the size is slightly different, and you can see yeah, its length and breadth is quite different. And it's interesting because the Chatu Saga cards, which were released with a trade paperback, are the same size as these. So they have slightly changed the size of cards, which is a thing to note. And then again with number 23 we have this card based on the cover. Nice, very nice, looks very nice. And then we have a pose still stamp from based on the cover of number 24, as you can see here. very nice. And it's nice seeing these kind of freebies. And now finally with number 25 they have released this big poster, which I really like, because as you can see we have got the Phantom and on Hero, which is from the cover, but we have in the background all the comics, the English ones that Regal have published, like all of them, I believe, like till the number 24. Yeah, it's very nice poster. It's it looks really nice, and yeah, that's it for the freebies and the comics. Today we are going to be reviewing the Shakti Comics Phantom number 4 and number 5. Before I start the review, I just want to say that number 3 has already been reviewed on this channel, so if you haven't seen that one, check that out before seeing this one, I think. Anyway, so Shakti Comics is the second publisher of the Phantom comics in India after Regal, but Shakti's thing is that they publish the Phantom in English, Bengali and Hindi as well. So Regal's stuff is fairly easy for them, but Shakti is like, because they are doing it in 3 languages, they take some time. But the products released by Shakti are pretty good. The past issues have been pretty good. The second one, which I really liked it, and number 4 and 5 now are really good as well. So now these 2 comics features the final parts of the Phantom in Mexico saga, which was 3 stories, which the first one was what was that? A Detective with Crime. That story, which was published in issue number 3. Then in issue number 4 we have the second part, which is the Den of Tigers, and the final part, which is the Phantom in Mexico. So this the first one was released around April, I think, April, the number 3, and then this one was released in June, and this one was released in August. So these 3 are were the story. Anyway, so let's get started with the review. First, let's talk about number 4. So from this issue they have started doing kind of like the Indrajal format, I believe, which is Indrajal had the character image with it to publish the character, and then we have the logo and this great cover by Ankit Mitra. So this cover is very different. It has matte, and then this is a spot UV cover. So you can see it's very not laminated, but looks really nice, and it's a very different thing that they have applied, and I really like it a lot. So as you can see, it's looks very nice. So the story they are printing, and is the second part, the Den of Tigers, written by Tony D. Paul and Paul Ryan. Now they have this recap of what happened in the last story, which was a thing in the Indrajal issues as well. So it's very nice. As you can see here, they have printed for you story quite nicely. They have used much thicker paper than what Regal uses in their stories, in their issues. So the glossy paper they have used is probably more thicker than the ones that Regal is, because Regal's ones are like less thick, but of course they're fine, but This one looks, the colors look very nice with this kind of glossy paper. As you can see, this is a very nice production. And then in the middle we have a pin-up poster. As you can see, it's an art work by Abhishek Biswas. Looks really nice. As you can see, very good work by Abhishek Biswas. So yeah, the story has been printed nicely by them. And then they have advertised their past issues. And then in the end they have advertised their next Phantom issue, which is a very, nice, kind of reminds me of Indrajal days, I think. Yeah, it's very good. I mean, it's not like it's connected to the story at all, but it does create excitement. And that's it for that issue. And also with this issue we have a freebie, which is a sticker of the Phantom, again drawn by the artist Abhishek Biswas, which looks really nice and I like it a lot. So let's move on to issue number 5. So this story is again the next part in that series, which is the Phantom, Mexico's Phantom, but they have written it Phantom in Mexico. It's different. This is the first time Abhishek Biswas, the artist, has done a cover for Shakti, and it looks really nice, as you can see. Again, this is a spot UV one. So yeah, it's good. It reminds me of Indrajal days, like they had a cover which is not related to the story, but it does create excitement among the people. And also they have gotten rid of this the white thing they used to do with the previous issues, but they still have the character and the logos, which is very nice and looks really nice, as you can see. And this is the final part of the story, Mexico's Phantom, written by Tony D. Paul and art is by Paul Ryan. As you can see here, we have this artwork by Abhishek Biswas, which looks really nice actually. As you can see here, looks very nice. And then we have again the recaps of the story, and then the story here. Yeah, again the same thickness of glossy pages. This looks really good, really nice. Yeah, very nice. So again, in the end we have the advertisements for their past issues, and it seems like they are hiring new colorists with this. Yeah, this is an advertisement for hiring new colorists. Nice. And then again advertisement for the next issue, which is Death is Coming from the Sky for the Ghost Who Walks. And that issue has been announced and will be releasing either in 21st November of this year or someday later, but this November, I think. It looks really nice. Yeah, this is an advertisement. Again, reminds me of Indrajal days. Looks nice, and this will be they have said that these comics, as you know, these are very small sized, but they will be printing the comics in big size like Regal. So yeah, that's something to look forward to. And Also, this issue comes with this freebie, again a sticker from Shakti. This is nice, and this image was in the calendar of that they released earlier this year. Yeah, I hope you enjoyed my review of Shakti's Phantom number 4 and number 5. And if you want to buy them, you have to buy from Shakti's website if you are in India, and if you want to buy them internationally because you are from international countries, you have to buy from Frew's website, and I think they are in stock in Frew's website. Anyway, so that was the review, and hope to see you with the reviews of on the next issues, and thank you very much.
Hi, I'm Christian, and today I review the Zauberstern comic number 3 with posters, 100 pages for €9.99. It has the stories End War Part 1 to 3 and The Chase from Moonstone Books in it. We have at least 3 cover arts and 2 sides with fan post. Let's start. Fan post. Then the first poster. Then in German it's Flammen der Vergeltung for the End War comic, which I like from the art style. It's different than the other comics from Zauberstern number 1 and 2. I like this art style more. The paper and the quality are awesome, like the other 2 makes, and I think it's a good work from Zauberstern. And it is a long story, 77 pages, but now we have some advertising, some huge poster advertising. You can cut it out without missing the comics. And then we have the Chase story coming up. It's called Hetzjagd in German. Starts at page 75. It's again art that I like. It's not so, if we take the other comic, the art style is just different. Don't know how to describe it, but I like these old drawings more. So then we have the end. The next Phantom is coming 14th December. Then cover arts from Moonstone, fan post, and the back side. Hi, my name is Chris, and today I review the Zauberstern Phantom comic number 4. Official release is 14th December 2022. The Phantom comic costs €9.99. The cover is from Timo Würz. So, let's start. Fan post. Blutsbrüder in Germany, Blood Brothers with the 21st Phantom, released in Fantomen number 12, Sweden. Julie Walker, Wettlauf gegen den Tod, Race Against Death from Moonstone, 2010. Requiem, Phantom. In Sweden it is released 12/21, and in Australia it's released in 2019.
And it's the first time it is in color published. So let's start with Blood Brothers. It's the 21st Phantom, released in Australia, Finland, Norway, Sweden, and now Germany. It's an actual story with bank robbers, and they flew to the jungle. And it's a nice story, I think. Then some advertising here, Flash Gordon, new comic in Germany. Then we have the Julie Walker comic, Race Against Death from Moonstone, with the 17th Phantom. Release Australia 2017, United States 2010. Nice artwork. The story is cool. Julie is the sister of the Phantom, and she take parts to help her friend. Then we got Requiem, first time in color. It's 19th Phantom. It's with war. Actual story here in Ukraine. The painting is nice. I like all three stories much. Next Phantom release 8 February 2023. Fan post and back cover from Stefan Zombetsky with some information about the Phantom. Thank you.
All right, appreciate your reviews, guys. Look, those reviews are on our website as an individual, but then they're also included in our Comics and News podcast as well. If you want to see them in more detail, go to our Chronicle Chamber website or the YouTube channel as well. So now it comes along to where we review the daily and the Sunday stories as they are happening in the newspaper, or if you don't get the newspaper anymore, online, which is in Comics Kingdom. It is worth making mention while we're talking about the Comics Kingdom website that they have implemented some changes to their comments section. I believe the old version was called Discuss. I think but it was with a Q or something like that, spelt a little bit funny. But they've gone with an open web or something a little bit different. And I believe it's actually designed to be able to make it harder for delinquents commenting as much. Like Malibu Ed. Hello. Do you ever go on Comics Kingdom website, Carl?
I try not to. It's a bit of a jungle in there.
It is a bit of a jungle. I've made it a bit of a mission to try and clean it up a little bit. And then what I actually found is that there's a lot of people in there trying to understand or wanting to know more about the Phantom. So I try not to get entangled with people like Malibu Ed and just focus on those who want to learn about the Phantom and discuss the Phantom. So there seems to be more of them. Yeah, there seems to be more of them lately. Cool.
I might have a go.
So we are talking about the Temple of the Gods story by Tony DePaul, who's the writer, and Jeff Weigel, who's the artist. And Jeff's in a real sweet spot at the moment. So is Mike as well, but we'll talk about Mike in a second. So for those who don't know, Jeff and Tony have been walking the Phantom and Diana under Eden, and And the Phantom is using this time to catch up Diana with kind of what's going on, but also what the Phantom past has been. At this stage, they have not talked about the past stories that have been created in the Team Fantomen universe. Now, we've got a video where we've explored those stories and given everyone a bit of an update. So if you are not sure what's going on, go to our website, go to our show notes on here, and you can find the link in here. Now, what are you thinking about this story, Callum? Are you
It's
enjoying
definitely
it?
progressing along. Starting to pick up a bit now. Actually, today I saw on Jeff's Facebook page he's posted the latest one. So it's,
yes, this is it here.
That's the one.
So I must admit, I thought it was funny because it was like last week. You've got there's been a light behind us. You go up ahead, and I'm thinking, sweet, we're going to see some action. And then Jeff and Tony have strung us along for another week. And I'm like, no! So they've done their job well in investing me,
Keeping the
and
suspense.
wanting to keep figuring out what's happening. So now let's delve into this story and let's speculate a little bit. So it's an old school lamp. It looks like an old school gun. Looks like the woman is wearing old school clothes, maybe something from, I don't know, the 17th or the 18th century. So it's intriguing how she fits into it. If you were to speculate, where do you think this is going to go?
When I was scrolling through Facebook, I actually came across this and I saw that one panel with the lantern there, and I went, "Oh, that's an older Phantom." Forgetting that he's now got his ammo pouches and stuff across his chest. Because of her attire, it kind of put him back a few years.
Yeah.
But, the hurricane lamp and the vest and the double belt sort of thing, the joppers she's got going on. I don't know if it's what do they call that, neckerchief for the carafe or something like that.
It's like Frenchy, isn't it?
A little bit. I would have said more like a movie director, sort of, that sort of classic, with the choppers at least.
Now, personally, if we know that in the past stories, this is where I think it's going. And I haven't actually talked to Jeff or Tony about this, so it's pure speculation. In the past stories, we know that there was hunters who were hunting down these people, which were descendant from, the pharaohs made it, and then there's descendants of the Egyptians who were trying to hunt these people and kill them and stuff like that. That's why the third Phantom, who we've seen in here, was captured, or he was basically in here and then he killed some and stuff like that. So I reckon that somehow this person is a descendant who's taking it as their mission to exterminate the abomination of, and I use the word abomination, of these beastmen. That's where I think this person comes from. So it's almost like a Phantom lineage of people handing down the job of hunting them down.
It's definitely leading that way. But that's a couple of 100 years.
Yeah, well, the Phantom's been around for 500 years, I thought this panel here where it feels like the Phantom's not trusting Devil. And I actually said at the stage, I thought, why is the Phantom not trusting Devil? But I wonder if he saw it and he's like, come on, let's lead them away and, get the element of surprise. So maybe he was, in hindsight, maybe he was not ignoring what Devil was saying, but actually waiting until he can provide the element of surprise, right, instead of the person with the hurricane lamp providing the element of surprise. So in hindsight, I wonder if that was actually on purpose.
Bit of pre-planning and
Yeah.
trying to get the drop on them.
Yeah.
So,
I've got to say, but the colouring in these two panels here, this is on today's strip, which is the 27th of November, is absolutely amazing.
Jeff just does great work every week.
He does. He's done a great job with that. Anything else you want to discuss about this or comment on or anything?
No, as you said, it's been keeping us in suspense every week. You think something else is going to happen, but now I think we might be getting to the sharp end.
Yes, it feels like we're getting to some action. But I did say that last podcast. So, I don't know. But yeah. All right. Nothing else to say on that one, mate?
No, just good work, Jeff. Keep it up.
Yes, and Tony as well. Thank you for that. All right, so we're moving over to the daily story, which is called The Breakout, which is the daily story number 262, which is the ongoing saga. So again, if you're on YouTube, you'll be able to see where we're going. So basically, Old Man Moz has said how the Phantom's going to die. The Phantom believes he knows better, and so he's trying to change history or change Moz's story and still rescue Savannah and not get shot, which then reveals the secret of where Rex is, which then sees Savannah kill Jumper, which then sees Kit turn his eyes against the Phantom Line, which then sees Cardia not falling in love with Kit Jr., which then sees her commit suicide, Heloise not being interested in it, and then the Phantom having to produce a new kids. So that's what the Phantom is trying to stop in this story. So when we ended last podcast, the Phantom visited the veterinarian, who was actually the ones who rescued the Phantom in Old Moz's storyline. Basically, the Phantom saying, he broke in, he brought out his inner Santa, and that is by breaking and entering. And basically, he's like, look, there's a chance I'll be here tomorrow. If I am, don't operate on me, let me die. So that's a little bit weird. The husband's a big man. What did you think about the whole of that whole breaking and entering aspect?
It's not really Phantom law to be drawing guns on decent people, and I'm guessing the family do know about the Phantom, being on the outskirts of the jungle and that sort of thing.
Yeah,
I'm sure they've heard whispers. So he could have done the thing of breaking in and not drawing guns and being the mysterious himself and a voice in the shadow, that kind of thing.
Yep.
Which he's done before. He doesn't have to reveal himself.
Mm.
Not until the last minute, so they know who they're talking to and who they might see tomorrow.
Yeah, but look, I understand why Tony did it like that. It didn't sit completely comfortable with me. But yeah, look, it is what it is. This panel is worth pointing out, which is on the 5th of November, where the lady goes, I think the woman is coming here tomorrow night. Now, she says the woman. She doesn't say, I think they are coming here tomorrow night. So I'm not sure whether that's a misdirect or whatever, but Tony uses his words carefully, and there's layers in what he's done. So
nothing is coincidence.
Yeah, nothing is coincidence. So then basically there's some beautiful panels here, some beautiful imagery of zebras and wildlife, and we're talking about you got Devil Hero here on the 7th of November, zebras on the 8th of November. I think there was another. I love this panel here. Reminds me of the Cybari panel where you've got the front of the horse and Devil, and then the Phantom on I mean, it's
It is a great angle. Yeah.
So you've got here, so there's a lot of talking, and then basically the Phantom's about to break in. So Hero goes, he's still got Devil with him. Now this one was an interesting panel which was discussed on Comics Kingdom a little bit. When is this panel? I think it's the 17th of November. You've got the Phantom and Devil eating something. Someone thought they were carrots, and then there was this huge discussion whether dogs actually eat carrots. But what I personally believe it is actually jerky. Now, there's a little bit of a... It makes sense, but there's also a little bit of a hint. If you go back in the Sunday story, the current Sunday story, 2nd of October, this is where I think we're going. Hungry Darling, I've got Babadan's famous waterbuck Kalishi, your favourite. And then Kit goes, or the Phantom goes, Devils too. Now, I've done a little bit of research. The word Kalishi is basically a Nigerian jerky. So I personally think that what they're eating is not carrots, but it is part of the Nigerian jerky. And I just thought that might be an interesting little side plot to that. So basically he's going in here. Now, this panel here, the 18th of November, make memory of that one, guys. The Phantom breaks in, sets off some flares, captures the guys in the trucks. Also, this one, 23rd of November. Remember that panel as well, Callum?
Yep.
Punches the guys and then goes into the compound and then puts the guys who he captured in the closet. Now, I say make mention of that because did those panels look familiar to you by any chance?
They would have been ripped from Moz's Dream, eh?
Yeah, so basically, good memory. So what I'll do is, again, I'll share it on YouTube. If you are on audio, I'll tell you the panel dates so you can look at it, or you can press pause and jump over to YouTube. So this one here, the Phantom is looking for the flares. Again, very similar as what we've just seen, what we've just discussed. However, this is from 2021. He says, a trucker lives here. I've always liked truckers. They're always prepared to be helpful. That's what the Phantom says. Where are we? This one, which is the 18th of November, 2022. What does the Phantom say, Callum? Let me know in the second panel.
I've always liked the truckers. They're always prepared to be helpful.
Yeah, very familiar, isn't it? We've got this one here. So this is, again, this is Old Man Moz's story. This is on the, the 8th of July, 2021. Tell me what it says, Callum.
Oh, the first one?
Tell me the whole two panels.
Yeah. Oh, I don't get it. There's no accident. I'm sure there is.
That's what the Phantom says.
Actually, I saw that the other day. Somebody.
Yeah. That's
brilliant.
Thomas got it from us. I was going to do it. I was going to wait for the podcast and stuff like that, but never mind. And then on the 23rd of the November in 2022, so this is a year and a half later, when the Phantom is actually living the story, the scene's exactly the same. So, yeah.
Have you got a side by side there?
Oh, mate, you're really pushing it now. I will have it on the panel. So it's slightly different. So this is the 2021 one. And then this is the...
drawn back a little bit.
Yeah.
You got Devil in there.
So
well, Devil didn't. Devil wasn't with him with Moz's story, was he?
No. And then there's another one here. So this is on the Friday, the 15th of October, 2021. Callum, tell me what's being said. So this is when Savannah is bringing the Phantom who's wounded.
Oh, they've busted out. Yep. So, I'm a veterinarian. Are you mad? I can't operate on a human being. You'd be surprised what you can do when you have no choice, Doctor. So there's a bit of...
And then what happens from the second and the third panel, which is the 1st of November, 2022.
Exactly the same wording. Well done.
Yeah. So I wonder if anyone else picked this up. Did you pick it up?
Well, it's been a long time between drinks. It's, when it comes out in the comic, it'll be nice to have that full circle so you can reference it back easily. And, yeah.
Yeah. It's look, and this is what we'll talk about with Tony DuPont about how he doesn't make mistakes. This is all like this. He's done this all on purpose. Now,
years in advance.
And we've been usually talking about, I think we were talking, this is 16 months. So that's a year and a half, right? Now, I don't know about you, but I've forgotten what I had for dinner last night. Tony DuPont has these things planned. And he's been creating stories for the newspaper stories for, what is it, since 2000? So that's 22 years. I reckon he's got some more tricks up his sleeve.
Definitely.
Those ones we showed you 3 examples. I'm sure there's going to be more, which we'll be able to look at and discuss. But yeah, it was rather interesting going through that. So are you enjoying this story, Callum?
For the Moz section of it, it was a bit all over the place. It was like, is this the real story, or is this his dream? I think you may have mentioned a few times it was a bit sort of blurry line as to where real and not real is. But now it seems the Phantom's taken that on board, and he's doing all he can to change fate or change Moz's story. So it's, and seeing little tidbits like that. Yeah, you get a little smile when you see it. Hey, that looks familiar.
Yeah, and I think, look, one, it's great care that he is giving and putting into the Phantom. I can guarantee that not everyone will pick it up, but those who do pick it up kind of go, oh yeah, and they do. They have a smile on their face, go, yeah, okay. And for me, it gives them in confidence that if you're putting that much level of detail in the storytelling, you're going to do a good job, and the payout is going to be worth it.
Definitely, it's can't wait for the end of this. just to think what happens. Yeah, it's a good story, but it gets a bit dark on Moz's side.
Yes, it does. No worries. Anything else you want to add or make mention? Otherwise, we'll shoot over to the news section of the podcast.
No, go for it.
No worries. So this is the news section. Basically what we do is, look, all the stuff that we discuss is on our website, which is chroniclechamber.com. There's a few people that have said that they missed some stuff because of Facebook algorithms and stuff like that, or they're not on Facebook every single day. The best way to be able to keep up to date is you can either follow us on Facebook, or if you sign up your email address on our website, we've got an annoying little pop-up. Put your email address in there, and every time there's a new review, new podcast, new bits of news or anything like that, you will actually be emailed that. So some people live on their emails more than what they do social media. I know that's a huge surprise and a huge shock for some people, especially the younger ones amongst us, but some people don't live on social media. So that might be a way of you to be able to keep up to date. Or you can just watch and listen to our podcast every month where we go over the news as well. So now the first bit of news we need to discuss is going to be the Kickstarter campaign, which our last episode, 2 episodes ago, 234, we talked with Kelby from Waldrick media. Look, it's fair to say that the Kickstarter is not doing too good, unfortunately. So basically, it's, at the time of recording, which I will just bring that up here again for those who are on YouTube. You can have a look at it. At the time of recording, we've had 22 backers and we've got $6,741 pledged against a $90,000 goal. And there's only 4 days to go. So, look, unless someone wins lotto in the next couple of days and backs the rest of it, this is likely that it's not going to happen. Now, I personally think it's a bit of a pity because I think it's a great idea. I think there's problems with it, but I think there's great potential in the idea, and it's a little bit disappointing that it's not going to happen, but I can understand why fans have not jumped on board. Now, I personally have jumped on board. Have you jumped on board, Callum?
No, I haven't. I've been changing jobs and rosters, and I'm back to casual pay at the moment. So it's, yeah.
And look, it is $90,000 is a lot of money. Mortgages have gone up, fuel prices gone up, cost of living has gone up with bread, milk, fuel, stuffed chocolate, and everything else that all that type of stuff. If you're a parent, you know that chocolate is called Sanity. So look, I understand why people can't do it and can't back it. But look, go on there. Look, this is going to be our last call out on our podcast. Go on there, back it, pledge it. Let's see if we can give it a bit of a nudge. It's likely not going to happen, but hey, if enough of us get on there, maybe we can do it. If everyone goes on and backs a $20 one, it will get us a little bit closer. So that's that. Yeah, so like I said, unfortunately that doesn't look like it's going to happen, but we'll see what happens. The other thing, which is probably a little bit more exciting, and I reckon people are probably a little bit more excited about, and which is a great tradition, which a lot of Phantom fans, especially Australian Phantom fans, are into, and that is the Melon Diary is out. Have you brought yours yet?
Not yet. Again, I've had to hold off on a few things, but this is I got my email, so this will definitely be.
So this is the diary. This is the cover of the diary by Jeremy McPherson. It's got the what do you call it? The spiral binder bit, which is quite regular. Then not regular, which is quite common these days. Beautiful artwork by Jeremy McPherson. So this is the diary. Then you have the poster, which is limited, which is which is the same design but doesn't have the logo and that on it. I think that's limited to 100, personally signed by Jeremy. And then you've got the war calendar, which is same design, but it's slightly different. I actually like this, how it's using the same design, it's the same theme, but it's different. So you're not getting the same image across all 3 products. You're getting 2 different products. So I really do like that. So I think Jeremy's done a great job. The prices are there. So the diary is $50. The print is $100. And the calendar, the war calendar, is $40. And it's all plus postage. So, look, the diary is sized at 230 by 170 millimeters with 120 pages. That's quite thick. The print is on 270 GSM paper stock. And the calendar, the war calendar, is 180 millimeters by 230 millimeters, and it has 24 pages. So if you go to our website, which the link will be in our show notes, you can download the order form or just email Malin, which is info@malin.net.au. Again, info@malin.net.au. They do a good job. Now, I would assume they may even have some back issues diaries. So if you're missing a few or something, especially last year's or something, maybe contact them as well. So there's that. I've sent the link to my wife as a bit of a hey, you know, Christmas is coming up. So hopefully she has gotten the hint, but we'll see. The other exciting bit of news is the Phantom 3D sculpted mug, which is to be released in March 2023. Now, this is it here. Again, if you're on YouTube, you'll be able to see it. If you're only listening to us, go to our website and have a look at it. Now, this is great. I really like this. What do you think?
I'm a fan of the mugs, as you might be able to see behind me.
Yes, you've got 3 behind you. Are they all different? So what ones do you have? Actually, what we might do is we might just, while you've got them there, I am going to pin you. So again, if you're on YouTube, you've got the 3 there.
It's a bit hard to see, but this is a gloss black.
Oh, you got
Toby
4.
Mug. And then we've got these 3 are monkeys. This one is
The
Scanson.
And so your 2 monkeys look different as well.
Yes, this one's the heavier version. These 2 are pretty much the same. And this one is the
lighter, more modern version.
The lighter one. Yeah, it's got the sticker on the bottom of the where is it?
Yeah, made in Japan.
Got the sticker on the bottom.
Taiwan. Yeah.
Made in Taiwan. Whereas this one has
that with a handmade
hand painting on the bottom.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's a bit difficult to see.
Brilliant. The purples also look different as well. The purple paint.
Yeah, factory and hand painted.
Yeah. So thank you for showing that. So I'm assuming you will be buying at least 2, one to drink and one to stick up there with the rest.
Ooh,
now,
it is very tempting. It's definitely on the list.
Yeah, look, I haven't pre-ordered yet. I'm going to wait until it comes out. But what I want to know is how to drink out of it. How's that going to go? Because the ones that you just showed us, the lip of the cup, so kind of like where you put your lips to it, I guess that's what it's called, is kind of flat in a sense, where this is you've kind of got the forehead a little bit, and the forehead is kind of cut away from where the back of the head, where the handle is. So
it's more of a creaming jug or something.
Yeah, or like the old gravy ones, and now on their website they made mention that it's taken off from Billy Zane. Look, I don't think there's anything to do with Billy Zane in here at all. I think it's just trying to name drop to try and sell extra mugs, or maybe people can get it, buy a couple to get it signed by Billy Zane. But I don't think it's got anything to do with Billy Zane personally. I like it. I think this is going to be great. If I had to be picky, I wish they had released this for Christmas this year. Because it's March 2023. At $30, it is a great price point to be able to buy and to be able to give to people for Christmas special, for Christmas presents. So I think pop culture, kudos them for releasing it. I'm glad they've released it. But I think they have missed a trick by not releasing it in time for Christmas.
In time for Christmas. Yeah. Definitely.
Because it could have saved everyone $30 because they could have just, Secret Santa. Well, if you get me for Secret Santa, buy me this. $30, $50. That's usually the limits for Secret Santas. Presents from the kids might mean that you might not have to get any jocks and socks. You can get a nice Fanta mug instead. But yeah, look, we're being picky. It's a great design. We're all going to be getting one. I expect, and this is a shout out to the Chronicle Chamber crew, we have to get one, and it's going to be our cup of choice, I think, from now on. So that's great. Next bit of news is the Phantom appeared on the TV show Hard Quiz. Now, did you watch this? Are you a Hard Quiz watcher?
I did. I went to the ABC app and had to watch it after the fact.
Yep.
But it was it's good to see that our purple boy and getting his colours flying there.
Yeah. Maria Lewis did a good job. She got all 5 right, so that's the main thing.
Yep.
If I was to be picky, I think the first question about the grey, I think that was slightly misleading. Because Lee Falk never actually said in any interview that he was definitely going to call him the Grey Ghost. It was purely maybe I thought about it. It could have been. So that was a little bit misleading, that question. We all knew that it was called the Grey Ghost was the actual answer, but I think the research from Hard Quiz was probably a little bit wrong on that one. But Maria Lewis is doing some good things. Of course, she's got a podcast out there as well. We are talking to her about getting her on this podcast, which will probably, if it is to happen, will happen in probably the new year. And then, of course, she also did win an award as well on some podcast award thing. I don't really know what the award was for, but she won that. So, it's good to see that she's out there being an ambassador for the Fantomen, and that's what we want. We want more people out there being an ambassador, spreading the news. People would have been watching Hard Quiz and going, "Oh, the Phantom! I used to read that," or "My dad used to read that," and then they might see a comic and go, "Oh, I remember that was on the show. Let's pick it up and read it." And that's what we want. We want the Phantom in popular culture.
Exposure, definitely.
Exposure. So, did you get all 5 questions right, Callum?
Oh, good. Yes. So for even just the casual fan, you would have got them.
Yeah. Now, I know you're a fan of Love Actually, so did you get all those questions right as well, Callum?
No. He did good impressions, though. But
yeah, he did do good impressions. Look, if you're in Australia, you can rewatch it on the iView, which is the ABC app, which is kind of like the ABC version of Netflix, for those who don't know. If you are not in Australia, you can't look at it in iView. However, if you are a Patreon and you live outside of Australia, it is on our Phantom Preservation Library. So if you are still sitting on the fence about whether to join up as a Patreon, that might help you make a decision. So, yeah. Other news is the Mythos Brazil are releasing a Cybari omnibus. Now, we're still looking for someone from Brazil to review certain stories for us, all the comics. So if you are from Brazil and you are getting the comics, whether you want to do it in English or in Portuguese, please get in contact with us. The omnibuses, this is the second one that Mythos has actually produced. Have you seen these?
No, I haven't.
So this is the first omnibus that they released, which is a release of all the first stories. So there's the Skyban in here, the Sin Brotherhood, all the Lee Falk and Lee. See how thick that is?
Oh, wow. And hardcover as well.
Yeah, so if you're on YouTube, you'll be able to see it. If you're not on YouTube, it is, I don't have a tape measure with me, but it's a good 1.5 inches thick. 300 odd pages, thick paper, thick hardcover. The cover, mine's still in plastic, but the cover's got shiny on it. You might be able to see that if you're on YouTube. So it's worth doing. Now, if you haven't seen it, this is what it looks like, the Cybari one. So that, again, will be shiny, like the Raymore one that I've got. And it will be probably just as thick. It's in black and white, I think, from memory. But look, it's not cheap getting stuff from Brazil, especially to Australia. Regular mail, with regular mail, you can ship from Australia to Brazil, but Australia's not accepting regular mail from Brazil. So I'm not quite sure on that. The retail price is basically, so they had a pre-order which was a 50% off, which is a great pre-order price. So the pre-order price was 70 Australian, which is quite a lot for a book, especially if you can't read it. And then you've got shipping on top of that. Now, what I would recommend is you can't buy the book and get it shipped to you from the Mythos website if you live in Australia or you live outside Brazil. Your best solution is to befriend someone from Brazil and get them to send it to you. My suggestion would be to get a couple, or not like a couple of books or a couple of things to make postage worthwhile. It's a great addition to anyone's collection. If you like your hard books or your hardcovers, or you like comics from around the world in different countries, it is worth recommending. If you like to read your comics, it might be something you'll probably miss. Callum, I don't believe you're a comic collector from around the world as much as what I am. Is that correct?
Sorry, no. If I can't read it, it doesn't hold me interest.
So this will be one that you'll give a miss?
Yeah. It looks like a really good book, though. I can appreciate the publication. So.
Yeah. All right. So the next bit of news is there's a United Kingdom or an English or a UK, whatever you want to call it, magazine called Infinity Magazine, who have just released a magazine. They do magazine on all sorts of pop culture, and there's I think it's a 2 or 3 page spread on the Phantom. Now the good news is that we actually have a friend in the United Kingdom or the UK called Joe Douglas, who, for many of you will know, who actually created Chronicle Chamber back 15 odd years ago. So he's living in the UK at the moment with his lovely wife. And so he is actually going to come back and review this magazine for us. So that's exciting news. It may even appear right now.
G'day fellow fans, it's your UK-based Phantom correspondent Joe here, showing you the Infinity magazine that the site reported on just a little while ago. So for those who may not know, Infinity magazine is a UK magazine that concentrates mostly on horror and sci-fi films, TV, books, comics and so forth, but also covers pop culture, which is why the Phantom fits into its remit. As you can see on the front here, we've got a 90s stock art picture of the Phantom. Most of you will probably recognise this. It was used quite a bit around the time the 96 film came out. So let's have a quick flip through the magazine. As you can see, I picked a good page to start on there. As you can see, it's got lots of nice colour, nice full colour images, a bit of Star Trek there. Here's the Phantom article. We'll skip that for the moment. Covering various films, more Star Trek, King Kong, Jason Voorhees. Got to get my horror characters correct. As you can see, the articles are fairly lengthy, more Star Trek. But let's get on to the main attraction for this channel, which of course is the Phantom. So this article is 4 pages long. Again, we've got lots of nice coloured photos and poster art and so forth. It's a fairly well-researched article. People that have been Phantom fans for a long time probably won't find any new information here, but it's well-researched, much more so than some other articles that we've seen in the past based around the Phantom that have obviously just read the Wikipedia page and not much else. This one goes into a bit of detail about Lee Falk himself, the various trials and tribulations of trying to get the character up and running in the US. The article does feature mostly on the US, which might seem strange for a UK magazine, but the UK hasn't actually seen that much Phantom publication, so it kind of makes sense. Also, the Phantom is obviously an American creation. Australia and Sweden do get a little bit of a mention, but not much. However, there are 1 or 2 small errors in here, like the article says that the Phantom's line started 300 years before the first strip. As we all know, it's 400 years ago, but, you know, that's neither here nor there, really. Maybe it's just a typo. The article is an interesting read. Like I said, not really any new information in there at all. A little bit of interesting stuff from behind the scenes, but that's about it. So if you want to pick up the magazine, it's probably a good idea to keep in mind that there won't be any new information, but it is a rather nice production. And some of the stuff in the rest of the magazine is pretty interesting too if you're into sci-fi and fantasy. The magazine itself goes for £7, which is roughly $14 Australian, give or take, depending on whatever the currency is at the moment. The UK currency value is all over the place. So would I recommend picking this magazine up? If you're in the UK, yeah, sure, grab it. It's only £7. It's not going to break the budget. So yeah, I think it's an interesting little aside and a nice piece to have in your fandom collection. If you're in Australia or Scandinavia or somewhere that you're going to have the magazine shipped internationally, I would highly recommend considering whether you wanted to pay whatever that shipping cost would be for 4 pages of information you most probably already know. Having said that though, we will probably put a scan of the article up on the Preservation Project for our Patreon members at some point. So that's my quick review of the Infinity magazine article on the Phantom. I hope you enjoyed this video. Give us a like or a subscribe, and remember to check out chroniclechamber.com for all your Phantom news. Happy Phantoming!
So thank you, Joe, for your review on that magazine. For those interested, it's about $12, $15. Again, you got to get it posted to you. Exciting news is we've got a copy. Chronicle Chamber has brought a copy, which will be a future Patreon prize draw. So if you want to learn more about what a prize draw for Patreon is, basically everyone who supports us gets a ticket in a seasonal prize, i.e. we'll be doing one during this podcast, which will be for our summer or winter if you're upstate, up in the northern hemisphere, which will be for the signed book of Robert Armand's. So one of our next prizes will be for one of those magazines, which is quite exciting. Other prizes that we've got coming up will be also some other stuff from Mythos as well. So look, it's exciting that we've got a review for that. Looking forward to it. It's good to see the Phantom. Again, what we talked about before, Callum, was that the Phantom is in the media, in the wider media. It's not just us. Phantom doesn't have a very good history in the UK, so it's good to see that they have produced that. So I'm looking forward to seeing it, and I don't know, maybe, hopefully we can see the Phantom back in the UK.
That'll be good.
Yeah. Now, some other exciting news is, where are we? Paul Mason has won a Stanley Award, so huge congratulations to Paul on regards to that. So basically, this came from the Stanley Awards. Have you ever heard of the Stanley Awards or the Australian Comic Association?
Yeah. What was that one a couple of years ago?
What do you mean? What was
Heath Ledger Awards or something, wasn't it?
Yeah,
that sort of.
Yeah. So basically, there's an organisation. So it's kind of like I don't know how to use this word. It's kind of like what's it?
A committee?
It's like a union, right? It's kind of like a union for comic creators. It's not a union, but it's kind of like a committee or a union where basically they support one another. So when an artist has been sick, they'll raise money and funds for them, and they do it for the other charity organisations. It's like I guess a union is probably the best word I can just describe it. And then every year there's about 10 awards. So there's the animation cartoonist, which was won by Edmund Ifland. The book illustrator, which was Judy Narden and Lee Hobbs. The
Caricatures.
That one was by Judy Narden. Comic book artist Paul Mason. Comic strip cartoonist
Definitely. And a few more names with the Phantom under the belt. Bound to get one of them.
Yeah, that's it. I believe Glenn's been nominated, or there's won a couple of times as well. So, it's quite cool. It's quite good. As we discussed, it is time for our seasonal draw for the Patreon draw. So we will draw that right now. Here we go. Here is the prize draw. Every dollar that our Patreon support us with gives them $1 in the draw. So a huge shout out and a thank you for all those people. Let's go down. Let's press the start button and let's see who wins. And the winner is Duncan Munro. You have the sign book from Robert Armand on its way to you. Congratulations. Congratulations, and thank you all the Patreons for your ongoing support. You guys are awesome. We can't do this without you. You help us pay the bills. You help us do the websites and everything like that. And I hope that you enjoy the signed book by Robert Armand, How the Phantom Became Swedish. It is in Swedish. So, but look, there's some nice pictures in there, and it's signed and it's free, so you can't complain.
Win.
That's it. And you've won a few times as well, haven't you, Callum?
I have, and it'll be really embarrassing if my name came out of the hat this time as well. But I've had one or two over the years, so it's it's good getting that little prize and lording it over others.
There's a few people that get a little bit jealous and demand redraws and stuff like that. Look, we've come to the point, Callum, where we've actually finished, so we're going to do the outro. So look, before I get into the outro, really appreciate your you joining us today, Callum. It's great to get other voices on the podcast. We've had a bit of the last couple of guests on the Comics and News have been Duncan and Matt Kime, and now yourself. So I'm sure Duncan and Matt are very honoured that you've joined their status. So look, appreciate your input, some in your opinion and stuff like that. Look, listeners out there, if you have any ideas or creators you would like to see interviewed or re-interviewed, please contact us. We're on chroniclechamber.com. Our email address is chroniclechamber@gmail.com. Again, if you want to be notified of new articles, ensure you either follow us on social media or sign up with your email address, and you'll be emailed as soon as something new is posted on our website. Again, Patreons, thank you. Your Christmas present from us is either on its way or you have received it. Callum, you actually got to come see me to get yours.
A couple of things when we're down there.
Yes, that's it. You got a couple of things, so it's a good excuse to catch up. So hey, when you do get your beer cooler, beer cozzy, stubby holder, whatever you want to call it, we've got send us a photo. Send us a photo while you're at Christmas drinking or having a juice or something like that. Send us a photo, stick it on social media. I know it's probably not ideal for those in freezing Sweden and Norway. You probably don't need your drink to be any colder than what it already is, but keep it for summer. Enjoy it. We've had some people who have actually asked us whether we have any for sale. Yes, we've got some. We've got a purple design, which is this here. It's got our logo on it. Got the words from Sam and Jay on the back. We've got a purple one. We've also got a black one, which is like my shirt. If you are interested, email us, which again is chroniclechamber.com. You can subscribe to us via YouTube or through your favourite podcast apps, including iTunes and Spotify. Callum, thank you for sticking with us, mate, and not falling asleep like some other people.
No, it's been good. Well, thanks for having me again. And I could actually do it from my skull cave, not the car halfway down the road. So,
yeah, that was a
shout out to Daniel Brodner. He would have been here tonight as well, so it would have been all West.
Yeah, all West. West is best.
Next time.
Next time. So, look, thank you for joining us. Thank you for listening. From myself and behalf of the others, happy Fantomen. Stay safe.
Happy Fantomen.
The Phantom's always there, but you won't find the Phantom. He finds you.